I'm just cleaning up from a project that I did yesterday. I'm going to talk about a little bit more detail after. But what I really should do, because what I'm doing is a quick tidy up so that I can work on a prototype. You know, that's the name of this video, about prototypes. So yesterday I released a video on the fake shiplap wall panel stuff, and that video didn't do well. And that wasn't unexpected, but you can never tell about these videos how well they're going to do. A lot of it is the thumbnail, a lot of it is the title. If I had worked on a title, you know, try to come up with something more catchy. Problem, I couldn't get a really good photograph of this stuff, so I couldn't get a really good thumbnail image. I thought that the one that I had was kind of so-so. I mean, what it needs to do is it needs to grab people's attention. More than the title or anything else, they need to be able to see that when they're, you know, looking through everything. You know, doesn't matter where they are on YouTube, they'll see these things. And what really grabs people's attention is the thumbnail first. So if you can make that, at least get them to consider the video, then you got more chance of it getting more views. However, there's a downside to that that a lot of people don't realize. I mean, if you got a video that's got a really catchy thumbnail and is snagging a lot of viewers, but the video itself is a pile of shit, they're bailing quickly. So they're not really doing anything for you. I mean, they're getting hollow views is what you're getting. You know, they're not, you know, they add up, of course. And if you're doing this for money, then of course you're going to get more money for more views. But I prefer to get quality views. I prefer to get people to watch the video for the subject and watch the whole thing if possible. So released that yesterday. It didn't do well. I think it has like 22,000 so far this morning, which is not great on a channel that has nearly 710,000 subscribers. But that's another story. I won't go into that on this one. So I came out here after posting that, and I started on a project, kind of a prototype type project. It was more of an experiment, and I actually filmed the whole thing, and it's a video that no one will see because basically what I did didn't work out. So I'm not going to even bother editing it. So it was a complete waste of time, I guess you could say, from the time I came out here yesterday morning until I wrapped up late yesterday afternoon. In a way, it is kind of good because it allowed me to debunk, or not debunk. Like I said, it was an experiment, and then I could figure out whether it was going to work. The only thing is that makes me kind of sore is that I filmed the whole thing, and I have to throw that all away, which is, these days, that doesn't add a lot to the time it takes to make a project, but it really does increase the stress level and takes a lot of the enjoyment out of doing it. Like this morning, I came out here to test out another idea, and I decided to bring the camera along, but this time I'm not going to be working on the idea on camera. Instead, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about the idea, and then I'll go ahead and I'll actually do it and see if it actually works. And that way I won't get frustrated if it doesn't work. Although I think in comparison between this one and yesterday, this one actually has a higher degree of working. So I'll get on to that, and I need to find the thing that I think it's in here. See, how many more views could I have gotten on that project right there if I had said it was a secret compartment or a secret doorway or something like that, or a hidden stash or something stupid like that. To say, you know, you roll that out and you can get in there and whatever. Anyway, so this is the Vise that a prototype or a test or an experiment that I built probably 3 or 4 years ago by now. And what it is it's very much like my old Vise that I had here, in that it's like a regular like machinist Vise, but I don't know if that's what they're called. Anyway, so you get the idea. It's got that jaw up on the top like that. But this one's quick release, or at least it's supposed to be. And that was the problem I was having with it. It wasn't that it wasn't easy to adjust it, because it's fairly easy. I can make it easier. The problem I had is that it wouldn't lock the way I expected it to. So what I did was I added this toggle here on the side, and what that does, it goes underneath the thing, if I can get it to work. This is very roughly made, as you can see, and that locks it in place instead of being automatic. I thought that just by virtue of clamping something up here would put enough pressure on the back of this arm that goes through here to push up and close the half nut arrangement that I have there. But as it turned out, that wasn't the case, and it might have to do with the pivot point that I have here. This all probably sounds very complex if you don't understand what I'm talking about, but it's rather simple, in fact. And I really wanted to get rid of this toggle, mainly because it's not as elegant as I would like. I'm going to pull the thing apart completely, take it out completely, and you can see inside how this thing works. The nut, half nut, is on a hinge. You can see the hinge in the back here, and it swings down. It swings down, and that allows the rod to move back and forth, because it releases the hold on the rod. Now, it makes a little bit of noise going back and forth, but that's not a big deal. It's not wearing anything out. It's very much like this thing here. When I release this, it makes a racket when it goes in and out, but it's not causing anywhere. It would take 1,000 years of usage to wear this thing out. And like I said, I'm going to take the lead screw out. This part here goes in, and as you apply force at the jaws here, this makes this part want to rotate like this. And the concept was that the back end of it would push up on the flapper thing here and close it. So as you tighten the stock in the jaws, it would push up, like the tighter you made that, the harder it would push up on that. But I couldn't get it to work the way I wanted it, or the way I envisioned it. And I think that, like I said, it might be because of this pivot point. This is what this thing pivots on, basically, up and down like that. I think that maybe if this was a little bit further in, it would work the way I expected it to. The only problem with that is the further you put that in, the less the thing will actually open up as you lift up on the thing, and then you lose clearance for the lead screw. Because right now, this goes through, and it's free to slide, well, relatively free, with it pointed up like this. But once it goes down, that locks it in position, and you can't slide it, or at least it's not supposed to. Okay? I'm going to get a piece of wood and put in here and just do a little test. I think that it would work with a wider piece like this, but it wouldn't work with something smaller. So I got this here, all right? and the toggle is not flipped over, so it's free to actually fall down again. But yeah, it didn't work. It's making me a fool. It's making me look like a fool. Okay, so yeah, now it's working. See, I can really reef on that and tighten that up, and it's staying locked in place. And the toggle is still not swung over. So that was the way that was supposed to work, like that. Except it's kind of flaky in that it, wow, that's got a grip. I need something to prove my leverage here. Okay, so I don't think it will work when I went further in. Or maybe it will now, I don't know. Maybe it's gonna make me look like a total fool. After yesterday, spending the full day working on something, okay, you know what? It's working. For some, no, see, it's slipping now. But I don't know what's slipping. Wow, it's really tight now. So, I don't know, maybe if I worked a little bit more on this concept here, take that out again and have a look and see. No, the nuts didn't slip or anything. Maybe if I spent a little bit more time working on this, and especially if I increase the size of the rod to 1/2 inch. The thing about 1/2 inch rod, of course, is physically bigger, but not only that, I can take it and I can, because the teeth are cut deeper, I can take it and I can flatten the tips of the teeth so they won't be so sharp, and that way they'll skate through here a little bit smoother. And that's kind of the idea with this other thing that I wanted to try out today, except it was going to be less mechanical than this. Obviously, I mean, this has moving parts inside with this hinge here, but this thing would be totally fixed type thing. And I need another stick as a prop to demonstrate. So I've got 1/2 inch nuts. I think they're 1/2 inch. They look like 1/2 inch. Okay, so I got 1/2 inch nuts, and one was going to go in a stick at the back, I guess you could say. And another one was going to go in a stick ahead of that. And I'd have to build this thing to determine how far these things could be apart. And then I have to lay it down. And then the rod would go in, and it would operate in exactly the same way here, except you tip it up, you'll be able to slide it through the open space between the two things here, rather than have one of those things move. And then when it came down level, it would engage in both sides of the half nut, and you'd be able to screw it in and tighten it up. So that way it would be a quick release thing. And the overall concept of it was to have what I'm tentatively calling a clamp vise. I was seeing, like I saw a video on a Moxon vise, and those things are really popular for some reason. And because I guess they're simple and the name. And I was thinking, what if you had something similar to that, except instead of those wooden wheels, you had actual like clamp handles instead? Because you take your clamp, and if we're talking about woodworking here only, it's to be a woodworking vise, obviously, you can get a lot of pressure just with the clamp handle. So I'm seeing like a wider vise, maybe 20 inches wide, with 2 handles on the sides, and like going through lead screws or attached to lead screws that operate this way with those 2 nuts arrangement, or 2 half nuts arrangement. So you just kind of lift it up a little bit, slide it in and out, and set it back down, put your stock in there, tighten the handles. That type of thing. So simple in concept and very quick and easy to adjust. And it wouldn't have any of these things sticking out. It just had the clamp handle type deal. So that's what I was going to work on today. And like I say, I got to try to see if it's going to work before. Mainly I need to figure out the spacing and I can kind of do it in SketchUp a little bit, but there's nothing like the precision of actually doing a mock-up to get the exact dimensions involved. And that's really what you need to do here. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up here. What else can I say? I'm going to work on this today, and then if I'm successful, I'm going to try to get it done by this weekend for a project video. And I would really like to make plans for this one as well, because I think it would be popular, or relatively popular anyway. Simple, but you need the details on it to do it, so that makes a plan, a good one for it. And that's about it. I'll go in and I'll check and see how many more people have said that, why didn't you just buy T111 siding instead of making that stuff? I don't know if you've actually seen T111 siding, the real stuff. It's not available here, as far as I've seen. Like, you go to a local Home Depot here, they got this stuff called, I can't remember what it is. I'll put it on the screen if I can think of it. But it's, I think it's like an MDF type product or something. And it's got the grooves that are in it are very shallow, and the texture that's on there is very rough. It's almost like a bandsawn, a barn board look, but it's all stamped into the surface. It's a totally different look. The actual T111 siding, it's been years since I saw that actually. And to the best of my knowledge, that had a very rough texture surface as well. So if you wanted something a little bit smoother that wasn't going to collect a lot of dust and dirt over the years, then you would have to do a lot of sanding on that. The plywood that I used for this thing was already very smooth, and I just had to route the grooves in it. It took like, I don't know, an hour to route all those grooves in there. The most amount of time that I spent on the project was painting the damn thing 3 times, 2 times out here and then bringing it in and painting it again. So that's always where you're spending the most time. Anyway, I'm going to go because I'm rambling on and on and on.